Good evening, Brigadier.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Um, Today, I'll just leave a little early. There's some urgent work. If that's okay, please excuse.
Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. This is
Good
Ekta,
afternoon.
along with Ela, founders of MQ. Welcome you to the second episode of the leadership series with Brigadier Vinod Datta. Vinod Datta doesn't need any introduction. We've known, enough and more about him. But just to refresh our memory, he is an army veteran, a corporate person, and the topic that he's going to be talking about today is adaptive leadership. Adaptive leadership is something, if you break the two words, and you would understand that leadership is all that we understood in the last session. And adaptive means that you're able to adapt to any kind of situation. And most often than not, a lot of people get impacted by any change in the situation that they are in. Many of us find change uncomfortable, whereas we all know that change is the only thing which is constant. And I think that no better than an army veteran, along with the corporate experience, can explain us what adaptive leadership is. So, not taking much of your time, all over to you, Brigadier Datta. And I am really looking forward to this session because, this term adaptive leadership is a new term for a lot of us. So, we'd like to hear a lot from you about this. So, over to you.
Thank you, Ekta. And let me wish everyone a very happy Vijay Divas. And today, we can't have a more auspicious day to talk on adaptive leadership than Vijay Divas, when the Indian Army forced the Pakistan Army to surrender. And this has been the biggest surrender in the history of the world, where 93,000 soldiers, they surrendered in front of Indian Army, and a new nation was carved out of, by cutting Pakistan to size. First of all, I would like to pay my tributes and salute to the Jawans, junior commissioned officers, and the officers who laid down their life in this battle, which lasted for 13 days. And rightly, if I can use the word, it was almost like a tervi to Pakistan, where his ambitions were put to rest and a new nation was born. I also want to salute the Veer Naris, whether in terms of mothers, sisters, or wives, who have taken that jolt of sacrificing, or when the supreme sacrifice was given by the people in uniform to make this day happen. Now, after seeing a good response from the last talk which we had, we have changed the format slightly. We are going to be more interactive, towards the end of the session, because I realized that there were a lot of good points which were coming from the participants. And as they say in Shastro mein kaha gaya hai, Yano Bhadra Kartavyo Yantu Vishwata. Matlab, let noble thoughts come from any direction. So we are going to, apportion that much of time for your valuable inputs. Now, adaptive leadership. We all know that this terminology has become more relevant today in the scenario of pandemic. And, shortly, in fact, if I can take the first reported case in China, we have already crossed a year of this pandemic. And in India also, we are nearing the first anniversary of this pandemic, where the entire country, the entire world, or the entire planet, saw a great revelation or a great changeover. Adaptive leadership is nothing. It is all about mental flexibility. It is how flexible you are. And let me tell you, human species or the human beings have been given that gift by God, that we have that bio and psychological plasticity, where we can adapt ourselves to whatever circumstances we face. And those who are able to adapt themselves, they survive. As Charles Darwin had already said, It is not the strongest species which survives. It is the smartest and the most adaptable species, they survive. Because you must have seen that whenever there is a cyclone or there is a storm, the trees which are stiff, they may be very strong. They may have a girth which is almost 3 to 4 meters. But कई बार वो जमींदोश हो जाते हैं और जो flexible जो trees होते हैं, they they move sideways, they move in different directions, but in the morning they are happier and they are standing straight and they are smiling. So what is required is that we have to be adaptive. And if you are not adaptive leader, I'm sure in the present VUCA world, you are not going to achieve anything major. So adaptive leadership is nothing. It is all about challenging the status quo. You see, when you start challenging the status quo, because sometimes the inertia doesn't let the mental mobility to move at a faster pace. We always want to remain in the comfort zone. We don't want to venture out. And, the biggest chains are in your minds. You don't require any physical chains. You don't require any physical locks. But the mental chain or the mental block which we have, that is the biggest impediment as far as your adaptive leadership is concerned. It is also the change of the current working system. Like now today, you have seen, one of the biggest advantage of this pandemic has been that India had planned that the e-learning will be complete by 2030. But, come this pandemic, and within 3 months, everybody was compliant. Everybody is now, well conversant with whatever platform you are interacting, whether it is Zoom, Web, Cisco, anything, Geo or whatever. So that is the advantage of good adaptive leadership. Now you have to also, take on the questions in such a manner that an adaptive leader adjusts himself in addressing those questions in such a manner that he finds a place for himself. Because you cannot be rigid. And they always say, you must have, there is a difference between a river and a pond. You must have seen the pond water generally starts stinking. It starts breeding reptiles or insects or mosquitoes. But a river or the water which is flowing, and the water which is flowing is always pure, it is always clean, and it is always finding its way by way of meandering, and it reaches the destination where it merges with the ocean and becomes, or joins a larger canvas or joins a bigger entity. So our thought process should be like that we have to be adaptive like a river. We can meander our way and reach our terminal or the end goal which we have set for ourselves. Adaptive changes need, to step out of day-to-day and routine functioning. You must have seen that, if you have to have goodies in your life, you must have seen that during the festive seasons, the mothers, they make, a lot of sweets, laddus and all, and they keep it at the highest, rack, which is there in the kitchen or in the store. Her aim is not, to deny you anything, but her aim is that you enjoy those sweets in a staggered manner for a longer period. And if you have to reach out for those sweets, you have to stretch yourself, and then only you will get the dividends or the results. And there have been a lot of definitions on adaptive leadership or adaptive environment or adaptive ecosystem. And there have been a lot of speakers who have been speaking on it. But in a nutshell, it is basically how you adapt yourself. I'll give you another very good example of, adaptive nature in environment. You must have seen a zebra. And zebra is a, it's quite a high animal. And when it gives birth to its calf, the calf comes down and he lands on the earth, and the mother zebra starts kicking the calf. And by no stretch of imagination, any mother will do it to a son or to a child or to a newborn. She does it. Reasons? Because she is preparing that zebra baby to be adaptive to nature, because she knows the mother and the calf is vulnerable to all the hyenas, to all the tigers, or what have you. And she starts kicking. And the moment she starts kicking the calf stands up and he starts walking under the belly of the mother. And she takes that calf under its fold. So that is called adapting yourself with the environment. And by no stretch of imagination, she has done to harm the calf. It is basically to make that calf adaptive, compliant to the nature or to the vulnerabilities which are around you. And I said, as I told you, it is a VUCA world. So you have to prepare yourself from 360-degree vulnerabilities which you have. Then the global struggle, you see, has compounded because of this pandemic. And let me tell you, the entire world has been put to a grinding halt. And the ripples are going to be seen in the years to come. Notwithstanding that, the coronavirus has given birth to a lot of, there is a litany of woes. People are telling, oh, are we going to see the world which we have left behind? Are we going to have those comforts? Can we move around freely? Can we, venture out without these masks and without any fear? Yes, the woes or the complaints are legitimate, but the Mother Nature has such, magic wands or such twisting the tails that the human species has to be told that, yes, you are the preferred species of the world or of the planet, but you need to behave. Now, another aspect about this is that in a recent study which has been done in America, and that is American Academy of Family of Physicians, has given a very clear, crystal and comprehensive, takeaways from the study, which says that this pandemic or this kind of environment which is there is going to have impact on society, on economy, and on the mental health of people. And the most important thing is that, yes, mentally we have to be robust. Mentally we have to be flexible. That mental mobility has to be kept going. And that is the first thing for a leader. Now, and the impact of this is going to be on economy, society, as well as the physical health of people. And the ramifications are going to be phenomenal. So it is high time that we start adapting ourselves and we start thinking ahead. We start looking ahead with a wider horizon. Now, earlier, what we had taken for granted is now under the threat of erosion. You see, we had taken that, yes, this planet is for us, or this environment is for us, or if I'm the CEO of an organization, I'm the big time boss. But everybody has been given a big shake. Now, there are people who were literally, wearing the crown. They were wearing the tiaras on their head, are now torn apart. So it is basically the adaptive nature, whether it is in your personal life, professional life, or otherwise, you have to be adaptive so that you can move on. Our foundation of new normal life is being shaken by this environmental change which we are going through. And we are struggling to keep some of the senses under control over the erosion which has taken place over the years. The miasma of despair would confine ourselves to miseries only. So we have to rise above it. We have to collect our thoughts. We have to collect our pluses which we have, and we have to read the environment so that we can move ahead. Because the form and manifestation of working, leading people, being led, or moving the folks together, whether they are in family or they are in your team or they are subordinates, is very, very important. So you have to move as a team. वो कहते हैं ना कि जब भूख लगे तो खाना खा और जब डर लगे तो गाना गा. And once you start singing the song, it is basically represents unity, that united you are a strength. Because if you split apart, that shows weakness, and weakness saps your energy. Now we have a choice. We have a road which has got two forks. Whether we willingly accept that and adapt ourselves to the changing environment, or we just stand with a stiff face or a stiff body, and we will be cut to pieces and we will not even realize what has hit you. So it is always better that we mold ourselves to the changing environment. Now, this e-learning, you see, there were people who were, I've been working for a bank at a very senior executive level. And I used to find it very difficult when you told people that, yes, you must start e-banking or internet banking. They said, no, I can't do it. I'm so scared. I used to ask them a simple question. Are you having a Facebook account? They said, yes. Do you operate WhatsApp? I said, yes. Are you on Insta? They said, yes. Then why can't you have e-banking also? Which is as simple. So those inhibitions have to be, they have to be shed, and people have to be literally pulled out of the comfort zone. You see, most of us have a challenge of getting up in the morning. And the problem with the morning is that it comes too early. But yes, that is the best time. Jise Brahm Muhurt kehte hain, that is the best time to, to enrich your energies, to enrich your soul, to, have a peaceful time where you can think and plan for the day. So after seeing this, we can adapt to it with normal changes. You see, you don't have to take a 360-degree turn. You have to just, you must have seen, if, when you're moving in a crowded bus, especially people from Mumbai and various other places, those who travel in these local trains, they know how to adapt themselves. So once you want to get into the train, your aim is, either you are bending this way or you are bending that way, but you are reaching your destination. So you are doing nothing, but you are adapting yourself to get into the compartment, and then you find a place for yourself. So that is what is required in adaptive leadership. Now, with these, if you see our ancestors, they have been the biggest example of adaptive leadership. People have changed themselves. It is not for the first time that the civilization has been hit so badly. There have been n number of cases which have been there, but people have bounced back. So that plasticity, that elasticity in our nature is required to come out of these blues and to come out with flying colors. The present situation, you see, when we were young, when we were graduates, when we were young professionals, the challenges were different. Today, if you see, the challenges are phenomenal, though the resources have also multiplied manifold. And now, if you you must have seen today, now the kids are getting marks which we used to see that kind of reading only in thermometers, 98.5, 99% people are getting. हमारे जमाने में तो कम से कम 3 बच्चे 3% में पास हो जाया करते थे. But today the challenges have also increased. Now, today, if a child gets 90 to 92% marks, I mean, he or she is not very comfortable. She feels or he feels that he has underperformed. And that is the toll which is taking on these kids, which are the future of India, जिसे मुस्तकबिल हिंदुस्तान कहना लाजमी होगा या मुनासिब होगा. Now, most face odds, with the blinders on. You must have seen that horse in a Tonga, they have those blinders on because that horse has been trained to go from place A to place B. He doesn't think. The moment you, just give a nod with the reins, the horse starts. So we are not looking for such leaders in our society. We are not looking for, people who can churn out policies. We are looking for people who can analyze policies and who can implement policies. We are not looking for leaders who can follow the goals or who can pursue the goals blindfoldly. We are looking for leaders who can set goals and who can take the people forward so that the followers have faith in them. Now, the present situation has now made the people think that we have to live in an environment where you have to do multitasking, you have to have dual responsibilities, you have to have dual talents. So talent mapping is very important for yourself as well as for your team. And if you are not able to map the talent of your team, I am afraid you will not be able to deploy them in the right manner for the right job. So it is imperative that a leader who's adaptive in the environment understands the team, leads the team, and deploys the team as per the environmental requirements or as per the environment which is flowing around. If you go back in mythology also, you will realize, I'll take you to Ramayana, where Kaikeyi had told Rama that you have to go for Banvas for 14 years. And she wanted to see, that kind of frustration on Rama's face. But Lord Ram had said that, yes, I am so grateful to you that you have sent me to this Banvas, and where I am going to meet such good hermits, such good saints, such good learned people, that it is going to widen my horizon. So that is one of the best examples of adaptive leadership. And Kaikeyi was really taken aback. So that's why they say that the society is aiming to help its people, and they must give the liberty to make their choices. That's why they say that aap apni kismat ke khud lekhak hain, and never allow anybody else to write your destiny or your story, because he will not be able to do justice with you. So aap khud apne aap ke bhagya vidata hai, and it needs to have leaders and decision makers working towards creating an ecosystem. You see, gone are the days. Today you have followers who will question you. Today you have followers who are more intelligent than leaders. Today you have followers who are talent surplus. So once you have this, like what happens to a child? You see, if you, and in this pandemic, the mothers must have faced a lot of challenges with the kids, keeping them, busy, keeping them meaningfully employed, or keeping them meaningfully engaged. Because a child is a reservoir of energy. And if you do not utilize that energy or channelize that energy in the right direction, it is going to work, counterproductive. So that's why you must deploy the energy levels in the right direction so that they are productive and not counterproductive. Then the emerging economies like India need to work on training students not to be followers, not to be policy makers, not to be policy, lickers. They should challenge them. And what Professor Amartya Sen had said, that Let your talent decide your destination rather than your friends, your family, your parents, or your teachers. Yes, they have a very important role. They have a very important role because parents, teachers, these are the two people. आपने देखा होगा, I'll just give you an example. आपने देखा है लकड़ी है, लकड़ी कभी पानी में डूबती नहीं है. कभी सोचा क्यों नहीं डूबती है? वो इसलिए नहीं डूबती है क्योंकि जो पानी उसे सींचता है, उसको बड़ा बनाता है, वो कभी उसको डूबने नहीं देगा. सो दी पेरेंट्स, दी टीचर्स, जिन्होंने सींच के आपको बड़ा किया है, they will be the last one to ditch you. They will never do it. So have faith in them. Yes, they may be outdated, they may not be updated, but they are definitely visionaries. They have seen life. Now the emerging economies which are there. Now what you have to see is India has its own place. India enjoys a signature as far as the world economies are concerned. And today, we are a 3 trillion economy. We are looking at a 5 trillion economy in the years to come. And I'm sure we are going to achieve it. And today, if you see, there are only 2 countries. I was reading an article and a report which says Taiwan and South Korea, they have done wonderfully well. After the Second World War, these were the 2 economies which grew 5%. And they are very, very small nations. But the kind of determination, the kind of policy flexibility they had, the kind of financial incentives they gave it to the people, and the kind of infrastructural support they had from the government has taken them to the place. And today, a small country like Taiwan has put China at hold, and it is holding China for ransom, that you can't even look at me. So that is the kind of power which you have. Power does not come by your geographical spread. Power doesn't come by your nuclear missiles which you have. You have to have that kind of national, that muscular nationalism in your narratives. Now, another point which I want to tell you is to be effective leader or a policy maker, you need to be a visionary. You have to have a vision which should have a longer horizon. That's why they say in mutual funds, stay invested. So in your personality, in your leadership also, you have to stay invested. There are no 2 minutes leadership applications that you can download. You have to work hard. Then you have to start toddling. It is like a child. He starts crawling. Then he sometimes goes backwards. Then he starts, taking baby steps. Then he starts running. And then we all know that he touches the sky as far as glory is concerned. There are, a lot of challenges as far as the economic growth is concerned. India is an economy to look at. For the youngsters, I want to tell you that there is nothing to get worried about. There are large number of job opportunities which are coming. There are people, there are some media, houses which have been spreading that there is going to be a, loss of jobs and this. Yes, there may be loss of jobs in one sector, but the other sectors are going to mushroom and they are going to provide you. So the form and manifestation has to change. It is like a fashion cycle. Today, you must be seeing, since a large number of participants are ladies, you must be seeing that, the old fashions are still coming. If you see even the earrings and the apparel which the ladies are wearing, if you go back on films of 60s or if you see your mothers and this thing, you will realize that the same thing is coming. So it is a cycle. So there's nothing to fear about it. And finally, I would like to say that we have been training leaders in such a manner or in a a typecast manner. You have to have interactive leaders. You have to have leaders who are organic and not toxic. You have to have leaders who are prime movers. You can't have passengers. You can't have leaders who are chain pullers. You see, there is a way, there is a form, there is a format which you have to follow. And you must have seen the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. He never adopted violence, but yes, he was an effective leader. I always give this example of Nelson Mandela. You see, his father was a tribal chief. And Nelson Mandela used to accompany his father whenever he went for any meeting or any kind of conferences. And he would see, and he learned only one thing from his father, that he would listen to everybody. And he will speak in the last. And the advantages of this kind of flavor of leadership was that firstly, he could give that respect and audience to all the leaders. Secondly, in the meantime, he could muster his ideas. Thirdly, he had all the inputs. And finally, he will analyze those inputs and then give his decision. So you have advantage that yes, you have inputs, you have to wait because everything has got a gestation period. Everything has got a gestation period. And if you have, premature, if you take premature steps, it is going to, you are going to land up in premature failures. You have to have that sweet spot in your leadership. And that sweet spot is like when you're playing golf, when you're teeing off, and if your tee shot is very good, you get a typical sound because when the club blade hits the ball at the right place, which is called the sweet spot, you can make out, yes, my shot is going to land where I wanted it. And you have that kind of happiness and joy because this is what you had desired. This is what you wanted to achieve. And this is where you have landed. Now, there are certain points which I want to tell you. Firstly, have great inputs. Have great inputs and wait for some time. Analyze it. आपने देखा होगा कि when you are brewing tea, there is a difference between making tea and brewing tea because tea is always brewed. It is not made, and the tea which is brewed gives you a different flavor, it gives you a different color, and it gives you a different aroma. So this is what you must do with the information. There are people, there are leaders I have seen, who are very trigger happy or who are very, they have those ants and pants type of scenario. Koi input mili and they will, let the rabbit go out of the hat. So what you have to do is you have to think and then act. And there is a very good saying which people have said that whenever you are taking a decision, think, thank, and smile. Because a smile is one expression which is very difficult to interpret if you are naive, which is very easy to interpret if you're wise. So always follow this principle, and I'm sure it is going to take you to places. Then, if you are a good leader, you should have very good understanding of how things work. There is a difference between an ordinary task. If you're doing an ordinary task, you require just a bit of extra to make it extraordinary. If an ordinary task is taking 30 minutes, an extraordinary task will take 33 minutes or 35 minutes. So that 5 minutes extra which you are adding, it is going to give a kosher finish. And you must have seen, and I want to tell the gentlemen who are there that you must have seen the ladies, especially when they are serving the dinner. It is not that everybody cooks of the same, but the kind of extra garnishing which they do, the kind of tadka which is put, that makes the dish extraordinary. So same thing is applicable in your working, in your professional life, and in your personal life. Now, the another very good nuances about leadership is that it is a multi-layered vector. It is like peeling off, onions. There are a lot of layers. So please understand yourself. Please understand the people whom you are leading, and understand the environment or the changing environment. You must have seen the eagle. Eagle, what it does is, there is a bird which sits on eagle's back and starts twitching the feathers. It is quite annoying to an eagle, but what eagle does is that she doesn't get perturbed. So what she does is she just takes a flight higher and higher. And the higher it goes, it becomes very difficult for that packing bird who's sitting on the back of the eagle to sustain herself. And a stage comes where, it is flying at such a higher pedestal or higher place that she falls. So that should be the aim of a leader, that you don't have to, get into any kind of jugalbandi with the people who are passengers or who are chain pullers. You have to just take them to a stage where they will not be able to have matching mobility with you, and they are going to peel off, or they will be thrown like a discarding sabot. Like आपने देखा होगा ना, जब rocket जाता है, so there is a lot of fuel which is added. You have those discarding fuel tanks. जब उनका काम खत्म हो जाता है, they are all discarded, and ultimately the substance reaches the moon or the Mars or whichever place. Then you should have a good risk appetite, because without risk you cannot achieve anything. So as a leader, you have to have risk appetite. I gave you an example of Kargil, where we were we had two Khemkhani Muslim companies, and we ran out of ammunition. We were getting daylighted, and one of the junior commissioned officers, he said, "Sir, हमारे को रसद आने से रही, हमें इसी के साथ हमला करना पड़ेगा." And I also saw light in that, and the other officers also they endorsed their views, and we attacked them. And he said, okay, "Sir, if we get daylighted, we will be butchered." So what they did is, उन्होंने अपना जो war cry था कंपनी का, नाराए तदबीर अल्लाह अकबर करके, they charged. The Pakistanis thought that they have got a reinforcement, and they started welcoming this company. So this is called innovativeness, which is very important for an adaptive leader. Because if you are not innovative in this resource critical world, I am afraid you will not reach anywhere. And you should have a cafeteria culture or a cafeteria concept in your life, which means, like in a cafeteria, when you go, you may order dosa, I may order idli, somebody may order uttapam. So whatever you like, take that flavor, enjoy that recipe. And lastly, I want to say that there are no cut and dry solutions. There are no cut and dry solutions. You have to act and react as per the situation. So you should have that kind of vivek, that kind of prudence in you, so that you can decide things for yourself. Thank you very much. I had told that we are going to have 35 to 40 minutes. And now we are going to invite, inputs, questions, or whatever from the participants. Because last time we had very good, questions and very, very intelligent answers also. And let me tell you, this is called adaptive leadership, because to read, I have to remove my specs. Thank you, Aarti, for your comments. Savita ji, thanks.
May I please ask?
Yeah, please. Please.
I want to know about the cafeteria
Concept.
culture, that concept. उस पे थोड़ा explain कीजिए. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Cafeteria concept is like, you select what you like. It is like, in a cafeteria you go, it is not necessary that, you will get only dal makhni or, chicken do pyaza, nothing. It is basically, if there are 6 members of a family, those who are going, somebody will say, okay, I'll have pizza. I may say, I will have yellow dal. You may say, you will say, okay, I will have, chicken. So it is basically that you order what you want. You, take decision which is best for you. You order a dish which is good for your health, good for your taste, and it is going to make your mood happy. So it is your choice. It is not that if I want my child, or if I want that I should be in operations, but my boss says, no, you will look after the back end office. Or if I am a PRO man, public relation officer, he says, no, you have to sit and do keying in. So it is basically, you must follow what you like. You must order what you like and what is good for you.
And
Sir, may I
similarly,
ask a question? Sorry.
and similarly, we must respect. Is it also that you are referring to, Dr. Datta? That
Yeah.
sometimes we feel we pressurize others to have what I like. So is it also indicating
Yeah.
that I must respect as a
Yes.
leader, as an adaptive leader?
Yes, Savita, because you see, teamwork is all about that. You must respect empathy. Having consideration for your team members is very important. In a family, I mean, we keep doing that.
Yes. Thank you.
May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I constantly hear that emotional intelligence is teachable. I do believe it is the root of all kinds of relationships, and a leader has to have a great relationship with his team members. So, sir, can you please explain a little bit as to how one can increase one's emotional quotient?
See, let me tell you, emotional quotient is very, very important. And the learning starts as early as you start comprehending the conversations or the decisions or the day-to-day routine, jobs which are taking place in your house. You must have seen that if you do not have good emotional attachment, if you are a loner, and when I say loner, I don't mean, there are some people who love their privacy, but if you are an introvert or if you are a loner on a negative scale, then yes, I'm afraid you will not be able to lead the team, and you will not be able to understand the emotions. I will just give you an example. Emotional, you see, again, from Field Marshal Manekshaw, he was sitting in a conference in Delhi when one of the senior person from the ministry came, and he told one of the colonel who was sitting in the office, he says, could you please close the window? General Manekshaw, who was the chief of the army staff, he got up, he did not like it, and he said, Mr. Defense Secretary, I'm going to do that for you. You can't order a colonel of my army to do this. He's a senior officer. This is called emotional attachment. And a point was conveyed in such a manner that that guy did not have, he did not have any face to attend that office. So that is called empathy or emotional attachment. So you must, they say, respect, power respects power.
Thank you. That's a beautiful response. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Brigadier Datta. This is Razina. I had a question.
Yeah.
Sir, I had 2 questions, in fact. One is when you gave an example of that leaders need not be chain pullers.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted a little clarity on this with some relevant example, because I remember, we've been told as leaders that you need to pull the right levers when it's the right time. Yeah. So I am a little confused in the chain puller example. So if you could please help me with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll address this question first,
Sure,
and then
sure.
we'll
Thank you.
graduate to your next question.
Yeah.
That's a very good question she has raised. And very good term she has used, and she has helped me so that I can explain. There is a difference between a lever and a chain. You see, a lever, it always helps you. It acts as a fulcrum. It increases your potential, and it makes your job easier. Whereas chain denotes restriction, confinement, or stopping a thing. When I say chain puller, you see, what happens is whenever you are moving in a direction, one is prepared for halts and breakages, or the brakes which you have. Like what happens is you can take the passengers. If you take the case of a train, the prime mover is the engine. So it takes all the passengers. The prime mover has no objection in taking, 400, 500, 600 passengers. But the problem only comes when there are chain pullers who are going to, pull the chain, and they want to get down at their village or to the nearest bus stop. That delays the entire program or entire campaign or entire project. So one should identify such chain pullers. And as I told last time also, जैसे हवन होता है, तो हवन में जो आहुति दी जाती है वो पहले खलनायकों को दी जाती है, जो काम बिगाड़ते हैं आपके. So it is always that, there's no point taking on these chaps head on. It is basically to identify, isolate, and keep them at an arm's length.
Right.
That is your second question.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yes. My second question actually was on empathy, but I think the lady before me already asked and you addressed it. But I had just one more question while you were speaking. This one question arrived. So today, how do I know whether I am an adoptive leader or not? Are there some signs which I need to look for? And if I find it, what are my next steps to kind of start towards that journey?
The first thing is that you should have mental flexibility today. You must accept the challenge, because there is no point crying over these split milk. You must have seen mothers, when the milk go bad, suddenly you will find on your table कि आज पनीर की सब्जी बनी है, and then you will say ये कहाँ से आ गया. So then you will see, your mother will say कि ये दूध खराब हो गया था, तो I thought इसका पनीर बना देते हैं. So it is basically, looking for opportunities. Like Winston Churchill had said, let no crisis go waste.
Yeah.
Because there is no, nobody had anticipated that this thing will happen. Nobody had anticipated that the world will come to, such a screeching halt, but it has. And now what I gave you an example of, river. The way river, starts meandering, it changes its path as per the available, place, and the water reaches the bigger destination or the desired destination and becomes a bigger entity, by entering the ocean. So that's how it should be. We should have that kind of, outlook, so that our aim is to achieve our aim and goals. The form and manifestation may differ.
Right. Can I ask one small question if the time
Yes.
permits?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, then is introversion or extroversion as a personality, does it affect your adaptiveness towards being a leader or a successful leader? Because there are introvert leaders, there are extrovert leaders. I have met both of them. I have worked with both of them. Both of them are equally successful. But does this factor help you in certain way to be more adaptive or less adaptive? That's my question.
That's again a good question. You see, what happens is your nature. What happens is, if you are an introvert, you will take some time to reach out to your team, or your team will take some time to understand your way of working, or the way you approach things. If you are an extrovert, or if you are have more reach, and if you are more you have a happier disposition, people are going to have more confidence, and they will connect with you at a much faster time frame, in a much faster time frame, and that is going to save time. both are, personality orientations. There is nothing wrong. There are some people who speak very less. There are some people, who blabber the whole day. So by no stretch of imagination, it is a kink in the personality. Yes, it is basically, the way you have been brought up or the way you feel comfortable. But yes, if you have a happy disposition, if you have a friendly disposition, you are going to attract, people are going to come to you. And you always say, oh, what a wonderful person I met. Oh, he is very good. And if you have to make long faces and such like faces, like we had one boss, who will criticize everything. So there was a party going on. I told his wife, मैंने कहा पता नहीं किस दिन सर का बर्थडे है. तो मैंने कहा उस दिन कोई वैसा तो नहीं था त्योहार वगैरह या इस तरह से कि ये हमेशा ही बिल्कुल मैंने कहा नाम तो इनका हर्ष है, रहते उदास हैं ये. So his wife also said, yeah, I agree with you. So it is basically, it is the correct which can get you together.
Thank you so much, Brigadier. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
While you have highlighted, what are the key qualities for an adaptive leader, but since adaptive leadership is very vast, what are the kind of challenges that one faces to work towards being an adaptive leader?
You see, what happens is, if you do not have that kind of flexibility, or if you have not read the environment, or you have not, seen that what is going to be the changed scenario in, say, about another, 5, 10, 12 years, you will not be able to prepare yourself. And you have to, as a leader, you have to look beyond what others can see. And if you have that kind of vision, you will be able to prepare yourself. You will be able to prepare your team. You will be able to inform them in time that, yes, this is what is going to happen. Like in this pandemic also, it is very, good thing that the government was keeping everybody informed. And we have had lesser casualties, and the spread has also been contained. It is because everybody has been told, they were forewarned. And if you are forewarned, you are forearmed. So a leader has to think beyond his times, and he has to see that what are the pros and cons, or which way I have to go, or how I have to mold my team, or what kind of mental makeup I have to give it to them, what kind of mental makeover they require to achieve these goals.
Right. Just one more. You mentioned that for a person to be very adaptive, or adaptive leadership also means that you need to one, do talent mapping, and second is about multitasking. Right now, multitasking could also mean that, to take the example of the pandemic, that somebody does an X job or runs an X enterprise, and then alongside that does a couple of other things. Now, will that be perceived as a person who is probably confused, or is is all over the place, or it will convey a different message to them? So that
You see, the kind of challenges the business houses or the people are having. There is a cut everywhere. People have, their salaries have been cut, the staff has been reduced. What you require is that you have to have a hybrid kind of talent management. You have to have dual tasking. Like if you are looking after security, they may also give you, okay, you'll have to look after the personal side also. So, rather than earlier, we could say, no, I've been appointed as a security officer, or I've been appointed in the HR department, I will not look after this. But today, they will say, okay, friend, we have to, cut this flab, and we cannot take it further. So if you are ready to take on this job, so you have to have that kind of mental flexibility and adaptability that, yes, I will take on this job. Happily, if you're doing it, you will be more acceptable. और अगर आपने रोके भी करना है तो करना तो पड़ेगा ही. So might as well smile and accept it.
Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned about challenging leadership or certain decisions from the leadership. Like people often hesitate or they fear that if I challenge someone's decisions, if I challenge my boss's decisions or goals, leadership goals, or whatever it is, that I will lose my job or I may be rebuffed or snubbed off. So how do we take care of this fear within us that stops us from challenging?
That's a very good question, and it requires a lot of maturity. Firstly, you should have self-confidence in you. Secondly, you should have that kind of professional acumen that the organization should understand that yes, they cannot do without it. I'll just give you an example. During this 1971 war, today's Vijay Divas, Srimati Gandhi wanted General Manekshaw to launch an offensive on Pakistan in April-May. He refused. And he substantiated. He says, ma'am, this is not the campaigning season. The army is not prepared. And all the rivers in eastern India are flooding. They become like ocean. He says, we can have this offensive after October. Srimati Gandhi did not accept it. And after a lot of discussion, he said, Madam Prime Minister, you want my resignation on health grounds, mental grounds, or any other administrative grounds, I will send it the moment I reach my office. So if you have that kind of professional acumen, if you enjoy that kind of confidence, if you know that, yes, you will be able to withstand that, and you also knew the consequences, then you can, dictate terms. I don't say dictate terms. You can put across your point more, with substance and strength. And he did it. So, but for that, you have to be, straight like a ramrod. You have to be professionally very sound, and you have to enjoy that kind of status where once your boss realizes, yes, he was talking sense, I have to have a relook on this decision.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brigadier Datta, one question from me.
Yeah.
So in fact, the term which you used, organic leader, it really, really touched me a lot. And what I understand about being an organic leader is a very compassionate style of leading your people. So if you could just share some more tips or something little more about organic leader, because I think it's the way leaders should be. It's something which we should all follow. So if you could stress a little more on it, it'll be very helpful for all of us.
Yeah, organic leader, when I use this term, is basically these are the people who are looking at the, at the health of people, at the health of society, at the health of economy, at the health of their party or their organizational, ethos or the vision. Whereas toxic leaders are the leaders who are basically looking for their personal interest, their personal furtherance in career, their personal gains as far as capital is concerned, or any kind of gains. They can be promotion, they can be power, they can be, anything, prejudice or whatever. So when I say organic leaders, they work for people, they work for the organization, and they're, I'll just sum it up in a, lines like last session I had said, the officers' credo which they follow in the army: the safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. When I say country, it means organization, your department or whichever. The safety, honor, and welfare of your men or the subordinates whom you command comes next. And your own ease, your own security, your own comfort will come last, always and every time. So this is how the organic leadership is, summed up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any further questions, anybody?
Another question. I have one more question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. See, being headstrong is a very relative term. It could be taken in a negative manner as well as a positive manner. So while we are talking about adaptive leadership, how do you take this term? Like, how will you weigh this term? Is it a negative thing or a positive thing to be headstrong?
No, it is good to be a person who's, who's firm. And I always say that, yes, you should be firm, yet flexible. If I see, more light in your point or more substance in your point, I should not hesitate in accepting, yes, that's a good point which Ella has given. And I think this is going to add more value to our goals or to our objectives. So, yes. And if I feel that, yes, your point is on a weaker wicket, and then, yes, I should be headstrong to say, okay, no. I think my point is going to be more beneficial to the organization and to the people. I think we have to drop Ila's point. So what if she's the CEO of the company?
Thank you so much.
I'd like to share an example here about being headstrong. This almost goes back 18, 19 years back, and this was my very first corporate job. And you're straight out of college, management college, you're a management trainee in the company, and you've been given an assignment to do. But whatever work was submitted by me and that my co-workers, we were questioned on that by our superior, who also happened to be the chairman of the company. And it was questioned because they were used to a certain pattern of reporting. And we three youngsters felt, and since I was leading the marketing of it, questioned him that no, we don't think this is very attractive and it will not look good. And most of the customers are going to put it in the trash bin. But because of the the legacy or the baggage that he carried, he refused. And well, I guess that army thing is in the blood. So I went a little head on with him, and I said that I am contesting this, and I would want more opinion from other departmental heads to substantiate what I'm saying. So obviously, it was taken on the ego, and the other department heads were asked to give feedback, and sure enough, the feedback was in my favor. And that kind of led the base, as Brigadier Datta said, that when you command that status because of the whatever you are depicting in your work environment or in your work ethics, the person in front will resonate with what you are saying, but you have to bell the cat. So I thought, this is relevant, and this happened way back in 18, 19 years. And at that time, I think I didn't know what adaptive leadership is all about. So that was a little flavor that I now realize that I had got in my corporate assignment. And, many such things happen even when we deal with our clients also. The response that you get from them may not always be the right response that, you are expecting. The example that Tata took about investing in mutual funds. And I think adaptive leadership really plays a very important role when it comes to investment. Being a financial mentor myself, and something that I do day in and day out, if investors do not have that adaptiveness in them, and they get succumbed to the pressure of the volatility and everything which happened in the pandemic in the last couple of months, the ones who were resilient and who stayed put are actually reaping the benefits today.
Yeah.
Because it's not always going to be that it's going to be sunshine always. You will have gloomy weathers. So same thing for businesses also. I feel that if we are able to, the mapping of the right talent to the right job is something which is very, very essential, and that enhances the productivity. So that if we all understand, and even in our own work, we also need to see whether we really are cut out for the work that we do. Do we have the acumen, or just because we were doing it, so we are doing it? So I think this session is a very good session for a lot of us to ponder over what we do. Are we really doing it with panache? That's one word that has been drilled into my system in during my MBA days, and then back then we didn't know what panache means. But I think for a leader to be able to do something with panache substantiates what he or she is doing. So thank you so much, Brigadier Datta, for bringing out the adaptive leadership session for all of us. And if there are any more questions anybody has, please feel free to ask, or you can ask them at a later stage also on the NQ page.
Yeah,
or
you have my number. You can just ping me on WhatsApp or
Yeah.
leave a message here. I will.
Yes, Savita, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. There are toxic leaders and there are organic leaders. In every organization, we may find a combination. So how can an organic leader use these toxic leaders, so that the
Yeah.
commitment, the mission, the aim is fulfilled? That's the question.
Yeah.
Otherwise हमेशा लगता है कि ये रोड़े हैं, तो हम उनको मतलब कैसे वो चीज हटाए कि हम उनको रोड़े ना, हम इनफैक्ट उनको भी सम्मिलित करें? What should we do about that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You see, what we have to do is they have to be, made to understand things in their language, because and you have to come down to their level and their thinking, and then slightly drift them, and then only they will get echeloned towards your goal. So it is a very, जैसे आपने देखा ना पत्थर पे जब रस्सी जाती है तो काफी सालों बाद उस पर निशान पड़ने शुरू होते हैं, चेंज तो आता है. So, but it is going to take a lot of time, and we have to be prepared for those timelines, and they are going to follow you soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Ekta. I have a TV debate, so we'll.
Yes, we are almost done, and I think it was a wonderful session. Next Wednesday, we will be, having a session on role of mothers in shaping leaders. So you can ask your questions then also. It's not that the series is over. We also have a culmination session, which is the last, where we will be talking about all that Vikita Datta has discussed with us. So keeping the time in mind, thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. And we look forward to having you next Wednesday, same time at 4 p.m. Same place, same time, with the same speaker.
Thank you, Jai Hind.
Thank you all for
Thank you
joining.
so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.